Hi there, in this section we will learn about the lifecycle hook for Vue instance. So let's start. Okay, so what is the lifecycle hook of an instance? So basically when we create an instance, there are several lifecycle hooks and those lifecycle hooks will execute at certain point of time with respect to that instance. Okay, now let's see what are those lifecycle hooks. So at the very first we have this before create hook which will execute before the Vue instance is actually created. Okay, then we have this created hook which will execute at the point where the instance is created and ready. Then we have this before mount. Now this before mount hook will execute just before mounting the template. Okay, and then we have this mounted hook, and this hook will execute at the point where our template is mounted successfully. Okay, then under this mounted hook we have two more hooks which is before update and updated. Now before update hook will execute just before updating the element in our application. Okay, and this updated hook will execute once an element gets finally updated. Then we have before destroy. Now this before destroy hook will execute just before destroying the Vue instance, and once the Vue instance gets destroyed, then this destroyed hook will execute. Okay, now let's see an example and try to understand this. Alright, so I am back again in my Sublime text editor, and as you can see I have already included the CDN for Vue.js. Now one thing that I like to point out here is that till the previous section we were writing our HTML and JavaScript in the same file, and that's okay since our code is not that huge. But in real life, when you are working on a project, you should create a separate dedicated JavaScript file. Now why we need to do that? Because if we are writing HTML, JavaScript and maybe CSS in a same file, then it will be hard to manage. So for the sake of simplicity, we should create separate files for JavaScript, CSS and all. Okay, so let's create a JavaScript file inside this folder. So let's name it as app.js. Okay, now in this file we will write only Vue.js code. Okay, but we also need to include it here. So script src then app.js. Now let's start by creating a simple div element for our Vue application. So let's say div, and let's give it a id as app. And now I'm gonna create an instance of Vue. So where vm equals to new Vue. Okay, now as we have already seen that we need to use el property in order to associate this instance with this div. So let's associate this object to the id of this div app. Okay, so el hash app. Now let's create a property inside the data object. So let's say data name, and let's give it as John. Okay, now in order to render this name property inside our div container, we need to use string interpolation. So let's say p my name is name. So let's run in the browser and see what we get. So as you can see, it's showing us my name is John. Now let's see the lifecycle hooks. So the very first one is before create. So before create, and let's simply alert a message which says before create. Okay, now after this before create we have another lifecycle hook which is created. So created, and let's again alert out a simple message which says created. Then we have another lifecycle hook which is before mount. So before mount, and again let's simply alert here before mount, and then we have mounted. Let's alert it here as well, so mounted. And then we have another hook which is before update, so before update, before update, and then we have updated, so updated, and then we have before destroyed, so, and finally we have destroyed, so destroyed. Okay, so these are our lifecycle hooks. Now let's go through these lifecycle hooks one by one. So first of all, we have before create. Now this hook will execute before this instance is actually created. Okay, and as soon as the instance is created and ready, then this hook will execute. And notice that we have here name property, and we are using this name property in here. So before rendering this name property in our HTML, this hook will execute. And once the name property is rendered and displayed, then this mounted hook will execute. Okay, and whenever there is a change within the Vue instance, then this before update will execute. And remember, in this hook the changes is still not applied. The changes will get applied till the end of this hook, which is updated. Now before destroy will get called just before destroying our instance, which is this one. And once the instance is get destroyed, then this destroyed hook will execute. Now let's see in our browser. So let me refresh it out here. Okay, so as you can see, we are getting before create. It means before create hook executed at the very first. Now let's click OK, and at this point of time our instance is get created. Now let's again click OK. Now here's one thing that you should notice, that our name property is still not get rendered. So it's preparing to mount our property in our HTML. So as you can see, now it's get mounted, so it's showing us mounted hook. Now you might have noticed that we have 8 hooks, out of which only 4 are executed. Now why is that? Since we haven't updated anything within our instance, so that's why these two remains unexecuted. And since our instance is still alive, that's why our hook before destroy and destroyed are unexecuted. So in order to execute these two hooks, we need to make some changes within our instance. So let's go to the browser. Let's refresh one more time. Okay, now let me clear out the console first. Okay, so we have got our property which showing us the value as John. So let's try to change the value of name property to something else. So vm dot name equals to Alvin. As you can see, we are getting before update, and notice that we still have the same value as John, since it is still not get updated. Now as you can see, it's finally get updated, and our updated hook is also got executed. So now let's see how we can execute other two hooks, which is before destroy and destroyed. So for that, let's say set timeout, and let's provide a function. Now Vue provides a special method which is $destroy, and it will destroy the instance of the Vue that we have created, which is this one, VM. Now let's execute it after 5 seconds. So 5000 milliseconds, which equals to 5 seconds. Now let's see in the browser. So let's refresh again. Okay, now let's wait for 5 seconds. Okay, now as you can see, we got before destroy alert, which means before destroy hook is executed, and then finally we got destroyed, so it means destroyed hook is also got executed. And don't worry about this destroy method, we will discuss all about it in upcoming sections. And so that's all for this section. In the next section we will discuss about template syntax and directives. So till then, if you enjoy this video, please leave a like and please subscribe.